Hello everyone, my name is Kody John, and I am with the Resistance. Easy guys, easy. Just bystanders. They're no threat to us. Well, I hope, but be ready. Alright, so now that I have your attention, I want to start off by having you all close your eyes. Go on, close your eyes, don't be shy. Now, go back to January 20th, Inauguration Day, to wherever you were. Envision yourself there when you heard the news that Donald Trump is the President of the United States. Alright, now that you have that in visual, keep your eyes closed. Now envision yourself in the middle of a street, surrounded by people, dressed in a variety of apparel. Some are completely clad in black, others are dressed in a way that wouldn't really match the norm. Some of them brandish red armbands, some even will wear a bandana, a paintball mask, a gas mask, and even brandishing a blunt object of sorts. And some are chanting things such as "Dump Trump," "F Trump," or "Not my president." Now that you have that visual, you can open your eyes. Now, the picture I just painted in your head were visuals that I came across while doing my research, while painting a picture of what happened, what went down on Inauguration Day via the protesters. So, let's go back in time a few years to Ferguson and Baltimore. These pictures here are from the Ferguson riots, which followed the death of Michael Brown, an African-American male who was shot and killed by a police officer, Darren Wilson. These next photos are from the Baltimore riots, which ensued following the death of Freddie Gray, another African-American male whose death was at the hands of officers. Now, let's head back to Inauguration Day. This final set of photos are people who protested on that day. Now, you may or may not be asking yourself, Kody, why did you choose these photos? Well, you may not, but I asked myself why I chose them. I chose them because of the nature of the photos, what was going on. The anarchists in the top here in BC, just being anarchists. And then the flag burners here in Portland. Just all of it is very intimidating, eerie, unsettling, divisive. So it's clear that there's a problem. America is divided, and it's problematic because if the divide keeps growing, it's only going to get worse. The end result is going to be much worse. Which leads us into my research question. And we're going to briefly go into its brief evolution. It originally started in the beginning. Sounds like I'm about to tell the origin of humanity here, or a big basketball joke. But in the beginning, it was, what is the chances of militaristic resistance or rebellion within the U.S.? After some conversations, it was decided that was too broad. Any research I may have wanted to do wouldn't have been able to do that justice. So after plenty of research and revisions, it came down to this. What is the evidence that the United States is divided along gender and racial lines? So now, let's go back several hundred years and work our way back up to modernity to describe some divisiveness that's happened in this country's history. We'll start with the Native American genocide, where 90% of the indigenous peoples of this land were massacred, with leaving the 10% subjected to cultural genocide, to where they were be assimilated into the dominant white culture. That failed. There are still natives who still practice their way of life and cultures today. That is just one of the four spectrums I looked into while researching the history of divisiveness. Next, we have what the African American population was subjected to, such as slavery and segregation. The third aspect I looked into was the oppression of women. It's clear to say that women have never had it easy, from being valued less, treated poorly, and being treated poorly, valued less, and having no rights at all. The final one was very brief: the Civil War. Yes, it was primarily white against white, but you know how the story goes. The North didn't agree with the South about slavery. General synopsis. We know how that ended. The Death Star blew us up. No. Okay, don't know why I said that. Anyway, that was divisive. A nation literally split. The United States split into the Union and the Confederacy, which resulted in war. Ending. Spoiler alert. Union won. Now, move up years, progress has been made, such as African and Native Americans both getting rights and being treated more humanely. The divisiveness was still there, such as plenty of hate crimes against African Americans throughout the years. However, things did change. They were considered citizens. Next, for women, the women accomplished the victory of gaining the right to vote. Major victory. Clap to them.
Yeah.
And acquiring equal pay and wherever they could, and mistreatment of women going down. Now, 16 years ago, we had the September 11th attacks. The aftermath of that caused some division from my observations. The individuals who were not involved or did not see eye to eye with the radicals who used their way of life to commit that act of terror were affected through discrimination and hate. Now it's 2017. Donald Trump has been elected, and now we are in the dark times, as I would call it. People are afraid. People are acting out. So most of my points I recently just made, giving history in the introduction. So now, not long after Trump was inaugurated, we had some of his first executive orders that were issued. Two of them, which were quite highly controversial, going through with the Dakota pipeline through the Standing Rock Reservation and the Muslim ban. Both reactions were divisive. Divisive is going to be one of my hot ones in this presentation. All right, so I'll first start to talk about the pipeline. Initially, before Trump was elected, the pipeline was stopped. It wasn't going to happen But Mr. Trump changed that after issuing the order to go through with it. I don't know why. My photos. Anyways, that happened. There's still protests up there happening against that order, which is spooky. Anyways, I have a short story. I have a friend who is up in Standing Rock right now, protesting the pipeline. To say the least, on his part, it's scary and cold. The next one was the Muslim ban. Even though it affects seven Islamic countries within the Middle East, it still sparked excuse my English. It still sparked plenty of mixed reactions. People for it, people against it, people clashing in arguments, protests, etc. So with these dark times is being met with resistance. People are resisting Trump. Protests, rallies, the occasional Facebook post that will start an argument. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, people are afraid, so people are acting out because they don't know what to do, which, well, is causing further and further division. Divisive. So, after all this research and I've laid my points, I came to a point where I realized, looking at rubric, I should address some weaknesses in my research. Well, as you've noticed, this presentation mostly focused on race, mainly because the research I had lacked in the gender divide in America. Now, if I were to do this again, well, I wouldn't, because I'm not one who likes to argue. I'd rather just listen to other people's speak and then form my opinion around that. But if I were to do this again, I would take one out of two paths. Now, excuse me. Path A would be to just make this presentation and research all primarily around the racial divide in the U.S. Focus more on that rather than have it lack in the gender divide. Second part, the second path I would take is by doing more research, more concrete, hard research on the gender divide and the oppression of women in modern day, in modernity. Now, one thing I'd like to address is division is not one-sided. It can come from anywhere, any place. Just because one person says something controversial, but no one's around to hear it, it's not really gonna spark anything. But if others are around to hear it, that's where the difference can be made, through a positive or negative reaction. If said individuals take the positive way and let bygones be bygones and actually try to hash things out like civilized human beings, nothing would happen. If it went the other way, vice versa, went towards where someone said something rather heated and others responded in a negative way, such as berating that person with demeaning comments or violence, it would just make us divide each other. It's not one-sided. It's not as black and white as some people would like to say. It's not as black and white as a minority or majority. It's seen these. All right. So now, after I've posed all those out, critique myself, let me just address this question. What if, yes, I know this branches off, but what if this divide keeps getting bigger? And I came to a point in my research is how is the gender and racial divides increasing under Trump? Well, I was unable to come to a concrete answer on, oh, this is where it's affecting here, this is where it's affecting here. I came to a very broad answer in my research, where it says it's fear. A lot of people are afraid of each other, people are afraid of Trump supporters. Trump supporters are afraid of non-Trump supporters. People are afraid of what Trump says, people are afraid of what Trump wants to do. It's all based in fear. So again, what if the divide keeps growing larger? Well, I think this short film I've been working on for my action project may answer the question. One more question. If people are capable of doing this in the streets just because of what they don't believe in, then what are the chances of full-on unspeakable acts of violence towards each other? So, again, we'll go on to the trailer for my action project film, Fragmented.
Oh, here. Okay, sorry, sometimes that clicker works for these and sometimes it doesn't.
Enjoy.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I would bomb the shit out of them. I'd blow up every single inch. There would be nothing left. I have the most loyal neighbor. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
briefly go into basis of what's going on. This is set in a, I'm sure it's set in a dystopian, and based off the context of what was going on in the beginning, I'm sure you can have an idea of what is going to happen. I want you to envision what you think might happen. In its current state right now, it's not ready to be discussed. Details on the entire story and plot are not really open for discussion at this moment. I just wanted to showcase this quick teaser of what I'm working on for my action project. All right. So now that I have given my 2 cents on the ordeal, on my question, and I'm on a time limit, I have plenty of time, but I'd like to conclude it here. I've given my 2 cents. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kody. All right, we're gonna open it up for questions from both the audience and our panel.
Yes.
So you offered a lot of examples, kind of going back in history, women's rights and all that. What are some solutions that we can try to implement in today's day and age to kind of address the problem of fear, like you were talking about, and kind of
In English, please? I'm kidding. All right, solutions. I gave examples. Well, in the previous rendition of this, asking how can the division be closed, dialogue, just to allow people to allow individuals from multiple groups to not just to listen to each other out, build a common goal, and that is as far as I was able to get. Dialogue and just set aside differences. In this age, it may not be possible. Yes.
Kody, I'd like to know, what are some like specific studies or pieces of data that you have found in support of sort of a widening divide today, like post-inauguration?
I was unable to come across any actual data other than any specific data other than reading some of the news sources other than some of the sources I came across in my research stating some of the fears, such as I was unable to come across any specific data. Anyone else other than Noah? Yes,
Kody
sir.
over here.
Oh.
Do you feel that this gap that's getting worse would still exist if we had a different president, if the inauguration had gone a different way?
I feel that if the president election had gone another way, there are plenty of people who are not in support of the other candidate, and there were people. I feel like it wouldn't have gone as different as that much different. There would have still been protests. Yes.
How do you think your research would have differed if you had looked at this from the other point of view? It seemed like you did a lot of focusing on kind of the liberal side of this. How do you think your research would have changed if you had looked into the conservative side?
I feel like it would have been. How would it have changed? I feel like it would have been. I feel like if I researched it from that side of the spectrum, I feel like it would have been not just more. I'm not really sure. I feel like based off what I can gather from how some conservatives feel, I feel like it would be rather fearful. But looking into the research from the other side would be very interesting. Noah?
yes. So it's just kind of starting a conversation here. When you answered my question, you were saying dialogue. I was thinking the way you can solve this problem was more acceptance, learning to accept one's values, beliefs, learning to accept the fact that you're a woman, you're probably way better than me at stuff, and I accept that. Like, do you think that is a way better solution than dialogue? Just
I think it's a
acceptance?
step. I think it's a step forward. I think it's a step in the right direction. Yes. Yes. In the back.
What do you say to people who, you know, have a counter argument that might sound something like, well, we have made so much progress as a nation in terms of accepting differences and granting rights to all groups?
From both sides of the spectrum, from what I've seen, granting rights, there's quite. Some people just won't listen. Excuse me, pardon me, repeat the question?
Well, I'm just wondering what you would say to someone who would offer a counter argument that sounds like, you know, we as a nation have made great progress in terms of becoming less divisive or including more people, being more inclusive.
Judging how people are reacting to such things such as the executive orders, the controversial executive orders are being we're reacted to. That's not very. It's not. That really just kind of is really from both. When I look at it, counter arguments from both sides, and then people clashing at both sides, and then the reactions. Well, it's not really. It's being more divisive rather than being united. Yes, Mother?
Do you feel like that there really could be a dialogue when you have, you know, one spectrum that looks at what's going on now as we've gone back in time? We're worse than we were because we've made it, not we, but it's been made to be openly hatred. You know, there's open hatred, there's acceptance for being racist, for treating genders with inequality based on our top government official who has made that okay, who constantly goes on these rants in the media and in the public eye. And then on the other side, you know, so this is what we're, you know, one side is seeing, and they're the ones that are subjected to that. So, you know, how can you accept this other spectrum that's doing it? I mean, do you really feel like there can be an open dialogue when there's such a giant gap between the two? I mean, you have people that are minorities, you have people that are women, you have people that are transgender, that are being treated this way and being told you can be treated this way. And then this other side saying, yeah, this is great. Make America great again. You know, so how are you supposed to bring these two together?
When you put it that way, you can't. And the whole Make America Great Again, based off its roots, it was never great. It was never great in the first place.
Okay, that's all the time that we have for questions. Thank you, Kody. If you would step outside for just a moment while I deliberate with the panel.